Good morning to everyone. My name is Nicolas Avellaneda. I'm a junior colorectal surgeon from Argentina. And today I have the honor of interviewing Stephen Wexner. He's editor-in-chief of Surgery Journal. And even though he's a surgical world referent who needs no presentation at all, so would you be so kind as to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Sure. Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to speak with you this morning, Nico. And as you know, you were here with us at Cleveland Clinic, Florida for some time. We consider you one of our alumni, and I'm delighted to see your success back in Argentina, where we have many alumni and many friends. And of course, my much better half, Dr. Mariana Barro, being from Buenos Aires. So I have a soft spot for Argentina. The day job that I have is as a colorectal surgeon at Cleveland Clinic, Florida. I'm chair of the Department of Colorectal Surgery and director of the Digestive Disease Center. I do a variety of other things with the American College of Surgeons, including communication consultant. But for the purpose of this interview, I've been editor-in-chief of Surgery, one of the two editors-in-chief, along with Kevin Burns. And my appointment has been for about a year and a half now.
Awesome. So now you are editor-in-chief of Surgery Journal, which is, I think, nowadays one of the top surgical journals around the world. So what would you say is precisely the aim and scope of surgery? And so to whom would it be directed?
Well, one of the wonderful things about surgery, and the reason I was so interested to be editor-in-chief of that journal, is that it really is applicable to every type of surgeon, or virtually every type of surgeon, and also applicable to people, whether early in their career, later in their career, whether people are more engaged in translational research or in strictly clinical practice. It's a monthly journal devoted to both the art and science of surgery. So it's appealing to me. If you think about it, for example, the societies who are represented by surgery, the Association of Endocrine Surgeons. So the American Association of Endocrine Surgeons is far removed from colorectal surgery, but a major driving force and contributory body to the journal. Every January, they have an issue. The Central Surgical, one of the premier academic surgical associations in the US, along with the Southern Surgical, the American Surgical, the Central Surgical also contributes an issue, and the Society of University Surgeons as part of the Academic Surgery Week that's held every year. So we have three very diverse societies for whom we're the official journal, one endocrine, and two high-powered academic general surgery, which includes everything. So surgery should be attractive to everybody. For the many, many decades we've been around, surgery publishes practical and authoritative information about not only procedures and clinical advances, but trends in surgery. And really our mission is to be the premier outlet for high-impact research in surgery. We maintain that mission with our values: discovery, inclusivity, innovation, integrity, and quality. Towards that end, we have specialty editors, such as Raul Rosenthal, another Argentinian, who is in charge of all of our foregut articles, or we have Caitlin Hicks at Johns Hopkins in vascular surgery, and Barbara Miller at Ohio State for endocrine surgery, and so on. We have specialty editors in areas that allow the other editor-in-chief, Kevin Burns, and me to really benefit not only from their insights, but also from their network of reviewers on whom they can rely, so that our authors are assured absolute top-flight expert assessment of their submitted manuscripts.
Great. So, and now that we know that who should be intending to publish in the journal that you preside, so what would you say are the main advantages of getting a manuscript or your manuscript published in Surgery Journal?
So traditionally, the advantage of publishing in surgery is that surgery has always been recognized, again, as this premier journal for the art and science of surgery. And it's distributed not just to specialty surgeons, colorectal surgeons like you and me, or HPB surgeons like Kevin, or other surgeons we have on board looking at other facets, but it goes to everybody. But what's changed in the last year and a half since I've been added as to replace Mike Saar, who was for almost 20 years the other editor-in-chief, and preceding him, Andy Warshaw, who preceded Kevin. So as the editorial board has changed, we've emphasized digital media and innovation. So Julio Mejol from Madrid heads a team which is very, very diverse. And we look at every social media platform. So authors now know that if they send us work and it's accepted, well, let me back up a step and say, when they send work to us, a trait established by Andy Warshaw and Mike Saar is a detailed commentary and a personalized commentary to the author. So if your paper is accepted, that's great. You're not going to get much feedback. If modifications are requested, you're going to get very in-depth feedback from multiple expert reviewers. And in this day and age, all of that will be amalgamated and synthesized by one of the experts, again, in one of the areas, Mark Jeschke, for example, Shimul Shah, one of our editors, and then also looked at by either me or Kevin. So it's got many, many eyes on every manuscript. On top of that, if the paper is rejected, we follow the footsteps of Mike Saar and Andy Warshaw, and we give very detailed and we believe very helpful information to the authors on how to improve future studies or redoing the study which we didn't accept. And I must say, I've never gotten so many nice comments after rejecting people's articles as I do with surgery. I mean, I work with other journals too, and people say that was incredibly helpful. I really appreciate the time you took to explain to me how to make it better. People appreciate it. But let's say the paper is accepted. Authors also know that we are going to work very diligently to disseminate their work in digital media. So towards that end, each month we have a Best in Surgery paper, and that Best in Surgery paper will be highly touted with videos such as this one, with visual abstracts, with graphics and the like, and sent through social media. And it will be, thanks to Elsevier, our publisher, it'll be free open access for everybody. There will also be an additional several, usually an additional 3 articles each month with any accompanying editorials, which is another nice advantage, that we have a lot of invited commentaries on our articles, so we get extra perspectives. But the articles will be free access and disseminated again through Julio and his team. So we have YouTube that Amira Al-Hassan is very diligent about putting visuals on YouTube. Debbie Keller working with Twitter, Delia Cortez Gurel working with Instagram. We have a variety of people working with Facebook and LinkedIn from different parts of the world. Venki Munikrishnan from India, Badma Beshenkev from Russia, Paula Ferrata from the United States, Manish Chand from London. We have a host of people who work with us in these digital media platforms. So there are advantages to the author if the paper is rejected. There are advantages to the author if the paper is accepted.
Yes, I think this information is very good, and it's actually pretty amazing that even getting rejected is something seems good for the authors here. So thanks a lot for the insights. I think this is very important information. But I would like to ask you one last question, which is maybe more on a personal matter. So there are many surgeons like me looking into starting a scientific career, many struggling for their first manuscripts to get published. And given that you have a long-lasting career as a referent and that your publications can be found everywhere, so what would you advise these young surgeons, or what would your tips be regarding getting started in their careers?
Yeah, excellent question. So the first part of that is if you're fortunate enough to work with people and have mentors nearby with whom you can work, who can guide you, who can help you design your studies, analyze your data, and critically appraise your manuscript, and ideally be co-authors on your manuscripts. They have a very vested interest. That's the best way, and that's the traditional way that's existed for time immemorial, is to have somebody. So certainly, you work with a lot of people down there, many of our alumni, certainly, and friends, Billy Rosato and Nicolas Rothos and Carlos Vaccaro. I mean, there's a lot of people down there, Antonio Maya Mejol. You can work with people directly. If one is not in that situation of being able to work directly with a mentor, then reach out and try to work with somebody else. So again, digital media, social media has a global reach. And I can tell you that I've co-authored many manuscripts and helped people design studies and analyze data who have never worked directly with me in my department. People from around the world that reach out and work with me. So you can do that. And it's not restricted, obviously, to colorectal surgeons. Surgery. It's any specialty. So you can find somebody whose work you admire, contact them and say, hey, I'd really appreciate your help. And I'd be very surprised if people say no, unless they happen to be overwhelmed at that point in time, in which case ask them, well, who else might want to work with me? So you can always get a mentor. That's the starting point. Secondly, try to get a bit of formal education. So earlier 2021, we had a course on how to review papers, and that was online through Surgery Journal. And I believe that Scott Steele and Shimul Shah ran that program. It was an excellent program. This coming spring in 2022, Abe Fingerhut, one of our editorial board members from Poissy, France, is going to be running a program on how to write papers. And he's going to have a largely European faculty explaining to people how to write papers. So workshops like that, which, thanks to COVID, are more and more online. We used to have things like that. Neil Mortensen, when he was editor-in-chief of Colorectal Disease, and I was one of his editors, and subsequently Neil Smart, we had these sessions at the European Society of Coloproctology, where we would sit down and have a room, and during lunch, usually for 2 hours, have an actual workshop on how to write papers. These days, they're virtual, as we're doing with surgery online, and avail yourself of those opportunities. Then learn from the comments of the reviewers. Don't take umbrage. Don't be offended by somebody explaining to you how your manuscript can be better. You might not necessarily agree with them, but listen to what they've said and see, if you follow that advice, what happens. So I think those are kind of the three basic steps: mentorship, formal coursework, and learning from reviewers.
That's very important information. Actually, I am the living example of receiving mentorship from people like you. So for that, I will always be very grateful. And also from other leaders of the world surgical community, which not knowing me, they have been willing to help. So I think that's a very good advice. So, well, that's it for today. I want to thank you very much for your time, and hope you have, you and all the audience have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Wishing you and your loved ones a very happy, healthy holiday season, New Year. And I certainly hope we can get together in person in 2022.
Hope so. See you, Stephen.
Bye.